As teachers, we often have to cut out a lot of things by hand in cardboard and paper to decorate our classrooms, and that becomes really tedious really fast. After shopping around a marketplace for a while, I got a deal on one of these Brother SDX85 machines. Went ahead and got that. Unfortunately, the person who bought this machine originally lost the mat, and so when I bought it, I didn't have any mat to go with it. So that's not a problem. I can rapidly find a mat and throw it in there, and I don't think that's supposed to go all the way through. Okay, well, it looks like the mat this way is a little bit too thin, and the mat the other way is a little bit too wide. Doesn't quite fit in the machine. So I trim the mat up, throw it in, and this time it doesn't go straight through the machine. It tells me that it officially does not recognize this mat, which is odd because to say that, it has to have recognized the mat. And so obviously there's something here that Brother's doing to try to prevent you from using some unofficial mats. And so unfortunately, I'm going to have to buy a mat directly from Brother. So that's no problem. Let's just jump on Amazon. And whoa, yeah, I'm not paying that much for a mat that's probably not even going to arrive before I have to head back out to school. With a bit of research, I found that it uses these registration marks at the top and the bottom of the mat. And as it turns out, some other people have already tried to do this and have conveniently come up with this beautiful file that you can download and cut out on your Brother machine. The only problem is I don't have a mat to cut it out on my machine, and so I'm going to have to find some other solution to make this work. Now, thankfully, this is where I can use a very detailed Amazon image of the product. I'm going to be able to copy that in my software of choice, make a PDF of that, and print it off on a normal paper printer. Of course, these registration marks don't fit on a single 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, which means I had to split it in two so I can stick it back together again after. This will allow me to stick it on the top of the mat and run it through the machine. Now, unfortunately, when I checked that print, it wasn't to scale, which means I had to go ahead and measure it, find the percent difference, plug it back into the software, and print it out again. And who said math wasn't going to be useful? Now, unfortunately, the machine loads in the mat from these registration marks, which means I need them to be solid, and I can't just push these registration marks in through the front of the machine. But I did find that if I stacked two pieces of cardstock together, it was about the same thickness as the mat. So I was able to stack those together, cut them out, glue them, and stick them on the front of the mat, which hopefully will allow me to push it through the machine again without any issues. And when I push it through the machine, ta-da, no errors, it finally works. So now I just need to find something fitting as a trial run to see if this mat actually works, something that will represent, one of my first uses of this machine. And so here it is. Ta-da! Greatly represents how I feel about this machine. Now, of course, the machine itself works fine. It seems to have cut out pretty well as well, pretty smoothly. It was a pretty painless experience. I love how the machine auto-calibrates as well, so you don't have to select the material that you're cutting or anything like that. It just figures it out, and it seems to do a pretty good job at not cutting the mat, but cutting the material through completely. Here's the thing, though. I just don't know why a company that is dealing with makers specifically, especially, would ever do such a thing. And you can't tell me it's for accuracy or any of that nonsense, because other machines, like the Cricut, for example, can load in random generic mats, and they work just fine. They don't complain about the fact that it doesn't have their registration marks on the top. And so it's just a pain. The fact that these aren't available. Now, I will say this. If you want to get something a little more official, you can go on sites like Temu, and they have some that seem a little more affordable over there. You'll just have to wait a long time for them to arrive, which in my case was not a possibility. In any case, that's something that you can do on your Brother machine to try to make it work with some generic mats. It's just going to require a little bit of creativity with whatever materials you may happen to have at hand to make it work.